Durangamang ekacaram asariram guhasayam ye cittam samyamessanti mokkhanti māra bandhanā. Dwelling in the cave of the heart, the mind without form wanders far and alone. Those who subdue this mind are liberated from the bonds of māra. The story is from Dhammapada, which is the 37th verse. That is 37th story. I just recited. So this is a beautiful story. Tells about the wandering mind, and the story is between a nephew and his uncle. So let's read this story. The wandering mind. Once there was a young monk named Sangharakkhita. While he was staying in a village monastery, he was offered 2 robes and decided to offer one of them to his uncle, who was also a monk, whom he held in his highest esteem. When he tried to present the robe to this uncle, however, his uncle refused to accept it, saying that he already had the robes required. The young monk interpreted his uncle's refusal as a personal affront. He felt so offended that he decided on the spot he would rather disrobe than be a part of an order where there were such arrogant monks as his uncle. Sangharakkhita wanted to leave the monastery right away, but his uncle asked him to stay and fan him a while, since it was a very hot day. Sangharakkhita did as his uncle asked, but did so more out of a sense of duty than out of deference, for he was still brooding over his uncle's refusals to accept his gift. And as he fanned his uncle, his mind started to wander. "What will I do?" he thought. "As soon as I become a layman again?" Well, first he was going to sell the robe and buy a she-goat. The she-goat would then give him many more goats, and he would sell them and finally save enough money to get married. Soon his wife would give birth to a son, and they would go to the monastery to show him off to their uncle. On the way, however, an argument would ensue between them, for he would want to carry the child as he drove the cart, but his wife would insist otherwise. As he would make a grab for the child, it would fall off the cart and get run over by one of its wheels. He would then be so upset that he would start beating up his poor wife. At that point of his daydreaming, he accidentally struck his uncle's head with the fan. The old monk, who was able to read Sangharakkhita's thoughts, admonished him, saying, "It is not enough to beat on your wife. You have got to beat on an old monk as well." Sangharakkhita was so surprised and ashamed when he realized that his uncle had been reading his mind that he wanted to run away. Instead, the good uncle took him to see the Buddha. When told what happened, the Buddha spoke gently to the young monk and said, "The mind can wander off and think of things that have not yet taken place. It is best to concentrate on the present instead and strive diligently to free oneself from greed, hatred, and delusions. One who subdues the wandering mind, which strays far and wide, alone, bodiless, will be freed from the bonds of temptations." So this story is actually very interesting, how that nephew of that monk felt offended just because his uncle refused his gift, and then his mind went far away from his place, and then wandering and thinking, and then finally getting married, getting an argument with his wife, and then a lot of things. So then when suddenly when he was fanning his uncle monk, and then that nephew monk, the young monk, struck on the head of that old monk, that uncle who was a enlightened person who can read someone's mind, and then he told that young monk, it is not enough to beat your wife and now beating me, an old monk. So this is actually what happens. Sometimes our minds wander so far away, and we cannot, we lose the balance of our mind. Sometimes while we are eating, we actually forget to eat, just because our mind is wandering far away, sometimes in the future, sometimes in the past. Most of the time, the depressions, you call it depressions, you call it tensions, you call it anxiety, you call it worries, all those mental phenomena are not in the present. You feel depression because of the past. You feel anxiety, you feel tensions, maybe just because of the future. The past is already gone, the future is not here yet, the future hasn't come yet. So most of the time we stuck either in the past or either in the future, and we forget to focus on the present, and that's how we feel more and more depressed, more and more tensed, stressed. And that's why we call it worries, that's why we call it anxiety. Soon you can concentrate on the present, on your present business, on whatever you're doing. Suppose you are drinking, just drinking the water, and be aware while you are drinking water. While you are eating, be aware that you are eating, and concentrate your mind and be mindful. And that's what Buddha always emphasized, encourages his disciples, his followers, and those who listen to him. Yoniso manasikaro, be mindful, be at present. So when you are at the present moment, you can experience the reality, the ultimate reality, rather than living or in the past or in the future. And so be master of your mind. When you can subdue, tame your mind, when you can keep your mind balanced, when you can keep your mind concentrated and focused at the present moment, then you will be freed from bonds of temptations. You will be freed from all those unnecessary mental problems. So this is the moral of this story. Thank you.